Hello, and welcome to another episode of Thrive Like a Parent podcast. Today, I got to chat with you about something that I think might be getting a little mixed up. So, I know that if you listen to these podcasts, you hopefully probably have watched some of my reels. And I show you the difference between a seeker and an avoider and low registration and sensory sensitivity. And I show you all these things to try and get you aware and gain knowledge of what these things actually mean within the sensory profile. But I want to talk to you about your kids. And I'm going to talk to you about your kids today, but it's probably going to relate back to you because so often I hear parents say, I actually see a lot of myself in my child. From when I was a child, I see a lot of myself there. So I was having a conversation with someone the other day, and she was saying, my son is definitely a seeker. And I was like, okay, tell me all the things. Tell me what is going on with your child. And some of the things were constantly moving, prefers screens, not great. I wrote down not great at transitions because she said that her son fights them on going anywhere new and will have a tantrum and just wants to stay home. And then if they do stay home and they give him the safety of home, then all he prefers is screens. There's tons of movement, tons of noises, picky eater. When they eat out, he doesn't do very well. She thought it was anxiety, tons of tantrums and meltdowns. As a younger child, they're lessened now, needing to be reminded of simple like manners. And she was saying like you would think after like 3 years of being, put your napkin in your lap, put your napkin in your lap, put your napkin, hello, like we'd get that. And I asked her what it's like being a parent of a child like that. And she was like, being a child of a seeker is a lot. It's exhausting. It's overwhelming. I feel the household revolves around our child and it's not fun. And I said, okay, all the different things that I just said and all the different examples that I just said is not seeking behavior. Some of it is, but some of it isn't. And that is why it is so crucially important for you to understand this information. Now, everything that I wrote down, I knew exactly what I was looking at. I knew exactly what I was looking for. I knew exactly what was going on. But that's because it's my job. And that's because I've been doing this for over a decade. I've been doing this for so long that all the behaviors, boop, I know exactly what it means. You're not supposed to know that. You, sadly, like they don't teach us that. Like they should. Honestly, that should be a basic, but kind of like science class, like and chemistry, like it should be neuro anatomy. That should be a given in all school systems. Maybe I should go into politics and push that. I don't know really if I have time or care enough to go into politics, but that's why I'm doing what I'm doing, because I'm one human and all I can do is help whoever wants to learn this information. So I'm going to go through this list again, and I'm going to tell you what is seeking, what is avoiding, what is low registration, what is all these things. And so the point of explaining this is that if you don't know the behaviors of yourself or your child, if you don't understand them and you think, oh, they're just all seeking behaviors, or oh, they're just all avoidant, like my child is an avoider or my child's a seeker, and you don't understand that you can have all of these different things in different ways and different behaviors, there's no fucking way you're going to be able to support your child or yourself. Because if you're, well, I'm a seeker. Oh, no, but why do I do that? You can be a seeker. You can be an avoider. You can have little bits of low registration and you can have a lot of bits of sensory sensitivity for stimuli. You can be it all. And so if you just think, oh, I've got this seeker, you're going to function and parent your child. They're a seeker. And you know what? This parent also told me, she was, I looked at some of that conscious parenting stuff and I just don't think I could get on board. And as she was saying, I was like, oh, bullshit. Oh, don't hate me. The reason is because if you have a seeker or any type of sensory kiddo, when all of this is going on, which is what I just explained, in one individual child, I just shook my entire computer, but because I'm so revved up about this. But if you have all these behaviors in one individual child, that is what I call a sensory kiddo, period, the end. Sensory human, sensory adult. That was me as a child. It was probably you too if you're here. That is a ton of sensory stuff going on. Some of this you can grow out of. Yes, absolutely some of it you can grow out of. But the way in which you grow out of it is you gain coping skills that you don't even recognize you're gaining. Biting your nails, biting your shirt, or picking your nails, or chewing on your pen cap, or at work, or um, continuing to be a picky eater. I have an adult right now who is a badass CEO, grown man, and he is a rock star, but he is still a picky eater, big time. And I'm still teaching him all about his nervous system. And now that he understands it, he can support it much better. So, again, I'm going to go through that list again of all the things that I just said and explained about this child, but I want you to hear how this child is functioning. So, the first one is constantly moving. Yes, that's a seeker. That is a seeker needing to feel it's their body is out of touch with reality, and they're constantly going from task to task to task because they're trying to crave input through their body. They're trying to get satiated, and they don't even recognize that that is what they're actually trying to do through all that movement. Preferring screens is also a seeking behavior. I mean, you guys know everything about screens there is to know. They're addictive, they're all the different things, but it's stimulating your brain, visually stimulating your brain. So then you can have more meltdowns and tantrums because of the stimulation to your brain is too much. I wrote not great at transitions. And remember when I said doesn't want to go anywhere? That's actually avoidance. That's an avoiding tendency, right? If we're not great at transitions, or we don't want to go to new places, or we have meltdowns and tantrums with going new places, but your child is also a seeker and bounces off the walls, that shows ding, ding, ding that your child is a sensory kiddo because they have both, right? When there's a hodgepodge of all of it, that's when I call, oh, okay, we got a little sensory sucker coming. That's what we got here, okay? So those individuals who are avoiders crave the security and safety of their own home. And so if you're taking them to a new place that they have no idea where they're going, or you change up, or you're very spontaneous in your home, and you don't have a lot of structure in your home, they are going to feel completely out of sorts and uncomfortable. And the way that they communicate as children is tantrums and meltdowns. Noises, if they're making noises, that's a seeking behavior. They're trying to regulate through auditory stimuli. Picky eater. I fucking hate picky eating. I did it when I was a clinician in the clinic. And I know I've talked about this before, but picky eating can be a plethora of things. It can be tongue lateralization. It can be texture. It can be taste. It can be anxiety. It can be avoidance. It can be muscle movement. It can be so many different things. And the child can't be like, oh, yes, it is. It is texture and a little bit of tongue lateralization. They can't tell you that. Okay. So picky eating in itself is a whole sensory slew of things going on. I don't ever love treating picky eating because you have to gain so much trust with the client to have them kiss it and lick it and touch it and this and that. And you're growing. You don't have failure to thrive. Your brain is growing. We're good. But some parents want to work on that. But that is definitely a sensory struggle in itself. If we avoid foods, and then it's avoiding. If we're only eating certain foods, then we may be only craving, right? That's a seeking. We may be only craving crunchy or this or that. So it could be a whole different gamut of things. And again, I'm going back and forth to show you that it really does matter in understanding the dynamic of your child or yourself individually of what's going on with you, because it doesn't just mean, oh, I'm a seeker. Oh, I'm an avoider. Oh, I'm a this. Oh, I'm a that. We all have all these little tendencies, and some more than others. When they eat out, he doesn't do that super well at new places. And she felt that that was anxiety. To me, that's more of an avoidance behavior of wanting to stay home and feel safe and secure. Needing to be reminded of simple manners and it's not soaking in, that's low registration. That's low registration, okay? And I'll go over what low registration is. One more time. Low registration is basically when you're getting bumps and bruises, and it's almost like having rose-colored lenses on, or Vaseline all over your glasses, where you just don't really see everything. You don't see the clutter. It's the opposite of the type A person. The piles don't bother you. The mess doesn't bother you. You bump into walls because it's just kind of like you're not registering the environment around you. So this child is not registering what you're saying because he doesn't feel it. In the beginning, as a young toddler, they may not be able to, but as they get older, it is a choice they're making. And so we have to help them learn how to tune in, turn that piece of their brain on, and take in the information that's being provided to them, to learn to flush a toilet, or put the napkin in the lap, or clear your plate, or take the trash out, or push, your drawers shut, or turn your light out, or, put the towel away, or brush your hair. All these little tiny things that we want them to be successful at and do on their own, but they may not hear it. That's low registration. Auditorially low registration, not hearing you. Hello? Hey, did you hear me? Turn it down. That kind of stuff is low registration. Now, this little kiddo, I was told that there's constant interruptions. Like this child doesn't really recognize when someone else is speaking. This child wants full attention all the time, but yet their self-worth is super, super low. That constant interruption is also, again, low registration of not being aware of surroundings, or not being aware of auditorially when someone else is having a conversation, and not knowing when to hold back and learn to wait until, one conversation is finished. And so we have to help support them into learning that. A lot of the kiddos and just individuals in general, a brain is a brain. So I know I'm talking about kids, but if you're seeing any of this in yourself, or you're like, oh, this is how I was as a child, and you're semi like this as an adult, or you've grown out of it, or you have coping skills, or you just like to chew on your shirt, or bite your nails, or your pen cap, or whatever it is, right? A lot of my sensory individuals also have a very, very difficult time with self-worth and being confident in themselves, because there's so many different things going on and their brain is going every which way, and they don't quite feel necessarily in control of their brain and the body, even though they're trying so desperately hard to manufacture coping skills to feel safe, secure, and grounded, and all the different things that most often I find that these individuals do struggle from low self-worth and self-esteem. And so finding that voice and being able to understand and having empowerment over your brain and body, and understanding what these things are, and then helping teach your children these things, that truly is what makes the difference. And most of us didn't get this as children. I did this with myself as an adult. The majority of the clients that I work with are adults, because I believe that if you learn this as an adult and you have children, you will then be able to see it so clearly on your child and be able to support it and then teach them. Instead of me being the teacher of the child, which is what I used to do, I now am the expert who teaches you, the parent, the information so that you can then go see it. I was on a call with a dad recently, and his kiddo was in OT, and he looked at me and he said, my wife has said, I wish I was the expert on this information. I wish I understood this information. I just sending my kiddo to an OT, I wish that I understood what all of this meant and how to do all this stuff, because then we could do it in our own home. And my jaw dropped, because I was, that is literally the reason why I do what I do. That is literally the reason why I have built the career that I've built, because my treatments with pediatrics was not working. I would see them maybe once a week for an hour, if insurance covered it, or if the parents could pay for it out of pocket, maybe twice if insurance covered it, or if the parents were lucky enough to be able to afford it. But it was almost a break for the parents, which I clearly understand. Hey, I'm going to run to the grocery, or hey, I'm just going to sit here in silence for a second, or I'm going to sit in my car and listen to a book on tape. I'm going to do something for me. You are the expert. You quote fix or manage this issue with my child. That was not working, because if you think about it, that meant that out of an entire week, right, which is 24 hours in a day. Yes, I know we're sleeping, but 24 hours in a day, and I only get 2 hours at max a week. There's no humanly way possible I am going to be able to do it alone. None. Do you know how many repetitions that's going to take? Do you know how many hours and weeks and months that's going to take? So then what I was finding is, okay, are these children reaching their goals because of my treatment? Or are these children reaching their goals because they're maturing? and growing out of some of this stuff. And there's now something else we need to work on because they've compensated for that, but now this is showing up. And I left feeling, and that's literally one of the reasons, besides me feeling so stretched thin, is one of the reasons I sold the business to my business partners, because I don't feel this is making a difference in children's lives the way that I want it to. I don't feel this is making a difference. And the treatment, you can't have OT homework. Like, the treatment needs to be as natural as possible. The treatment needs to be something that you can withstand and sustain. It cannot be a diet. It cannot be a fad. It cannot be just, hey, I need you to journal or meditate. It has to be something that I know can work for you in terms of adjusting and recalibrating your brain and rewiring it so that you're living in that space. And that is my goal. And that's what we do. We continue working together until it's absolutely 1000% the most natural thing you've ever done. And that is how you're living, and you're living from that space to be able to take care of your sensory and emotional needs. And I know I've said it 50,000 times, but at the end, at the core of that, that is mental health. That is mental health. I could scream it. Mental health means sensory and emotional regulation, people. If you want to have mental health, you have to take care of your nervous system. Should I scream it louder? And understanding your nervous system, understanding that you may not just be a seeker. You may not just be an avoider. You may have slightly a little bit of all of this. You may have some low registration. You may be a highly sensitive person. In order to understand this, you got to dig a little. You got to learn this stuff. And no, it doesn't happen overnight. And not everyone does it. You know, this big buzz of somatics, this big buzz recently with all this somatic stuff, you know, I think that when I first started doing this, if I had jumped on the bandwagon, I was nervous system regulation, people would be like, cancel. Like, you are batshit crazy. What the fuck are you talking about? I couldn't dive in. So I started with words: overwhelm, burnout, things like that. Are you burnt out? That's literally what I used to talk about is burnout of parents. And the world started coming around, and everyone started dipping their toe in it. And the buzzword for a really long time was overstimulation and dysregulation. I would say mostly overstimulation, to the point where I was on a call with someone the other day and she was, I don't want to say overstimulation because that sounds really cliche. And I was like, no, say it. That's the term for it. That is what it is. Now there's this thing with somatics and somatic healing. And I'm a somatic healer. And that's like a buzz. That's the next wave. That's the new age thing. Honest to God, it's just a fucking word. Okay, so with somatics, you're going to jiggle and you're going to shake and you're going to tap, or you're going to put your head in some ice, or you're going to stick your head, you're going to get an ice cube and put it in your chest. You're going to do these things. Are you really going to fucking do those things when your child is screaming in the bathtub and splashing water everywhere and you're about to lose your mind? Honestly, are you going to be like, hold on, child, I need you to stay safe. I need to go get a bucket of ice water to shove my face in to do some somatic healing, and I'm going to be just fine. No, you're not going to. And if you're listening to this and you're like, bullshit, Brooke, I do it all the time, I am proud of you. Like, mazel tov. That's great. Not many of us have time for that shit. I don't have time to journal. I don't have time to meditate. That shit doesn't regulate me. I got to move. I got to do shit. I got to figure out what works for me. And if you don't understand how your engine functions or how your engine runs, you will never know how to support that engine. It's kind of, what type of oil should I put in my car? I have no fucking idea. I let Carter handle that. He knows. He can handle. Thank you, Carter. I love you, Carter. Thank you. But that's not my jam, right? But understanding my nervous system and understanding what kind of oil I need in this tank, that is a lot more interesting to me and a lot more worth it and necessary. It's literally, if you could look at your body and brain as if it was a car. I have no idea how to fix my engine if something goes wrong with my car. Of course you don't know how to fix your brain or support your brain because that's not your specialty. You didn't learn that. Some people know how to fix cars. I know how to support and fix brains. It's just a different type of vehicle, if you will. So instead of assuming, what can you do? Well, you can watch all of my reels and listen to all my podcasts, and you can suck in and gain as much information as you want. If you are struggling and you're at the point where you're like, I'm drowning, I am walking on eggshells around my child or walking on eggshells around my spouse because they're completely dysregulated and they are over functioning, or they're definitely a sensory person and I see it. If you are struggling and you're tired of living like this, you don't have to. Does it require a little bit of effort? Yes, it does, because then you got to learn this stuff. But once you do know it, you're set free for the rest of your life. One of my favorite things, we used to do this parenting series. I would do it once a year where I would have the parents sign up together and I would do 3 different sessions. And I think they were each 2 hours. The first session, I was telling them and introducing them to sensory and emotional regulation, nervous system, fight or flight, all the different things, the down low, all the stuff that I wish was in the school system education wise. They got that the first time. The second time we went over their sensory profile, and I asked one of the couples every time, I was, hey, can you be my guinea pigs? And can I talk about you and utilize your scores and to kind of give examples and all the different things? It's my favorite thing in the world when I see a couple and I have never talked to them individually, but I'm talking through their sensory profile and they're laughing and smiling and nodding their head when I am pinpointing how each one of them within their relationship functions. And I can know what the hot points are, and I can know what the triggers are, and I can know how one is functioning and why the other one is probably resentful and angry or pissed off at the other one because that one doesn't function like that. All of this is relative. All of this relates to each other because understanding your nervous system is the difference between knowing someone and really knowing someone. And it's so fun to see these aha moments for them of, oh my gosh, by understanding my behaviors on a sensory level, I now understand myself. I now understand my partner. I now understand my child so much better. And it was so fun to see these, like I just by looking at their sensory profile, I know the type of human they are. That's how important this is. And then the last one we would do, our third session, was 2 hours of Q&A, any and everything they wanted about their kids and this and that. And I loved it. But you can get all that through our Thrive program. We do all of that plus more in our Thrive program. Anyway, so I felt that it was really important to touch on this because while yes, you're getting so much information on my page in terms of understanding each individual function, but I want to make sure you understand that we can be a plethora of these things in multifaceted different ways. And it's really, really important to understand them. So until next time, XOXO, Dr. B.